The paintbrush trembled in my hand, not from nerves, but from exhaustion. I'd been working on this piece for 18 hours straight, layering oils with a technique I'd developed over years of secret practice. Still playing with your hobby crafts, I see. I didn't need to turn around to recognize Melissa's voice. My best friend since college had a way of making hobby sound like a four-letter word. It's coming along, I said quietly, adding another precise stroke to the canvas. She laughed. That tinkling sound she'd perfected at gallery openings we used to attend together, back when we were both aspiring artists. Oh, Jade, when are you going to accept that not everyone is meant to be an artist? There's no shame in having a little craft corner. My mother does watercolors too. Very therapeutic. I set down my brush carefully, reminding myself that throwing it at her Hermes bag would waste a perfectly good Kolinsky sable. This isn't watercolor, I pointed out. It's oil on canvas, part of a series. A series? She practically choked on her latte. Darling, real artists don't work in series until they're established. You're putting the cart before the horse, again. She wandered around my studio, the spare bedroom I'd converted 3 years ago when she'd stopped inviting me to gallery events. Her designer heels clicked disapprovingly on the paint-stained drop cloth. What's this supposed to be? She gestured at my latest canvas with her phone, already half-raised to document my amusing attempts for her Instagram story. It's an abstract interpretation of urban decay and renewal, I explained, watching her face scrunch with practiced confusion. It looks like you spilled paint and tried to fix it, she declared. This is why I keep telling you, maybe try painting by numbers first? Build up some basic skills before attempting, whatever this is. My phone vibrated on the work table. An email from Laurent Marseille at the Meridian Gallery. I'd been waiting for this response for 2 months, ever since I'd quietly submitted my portfolio under a pseudonym. Who's texting? Your Etsy customers? Melissa smirked. Oh yes, Karen told me about your little online shop, selling prints of your work. How entrepreneurial. I thought about the little online shop that had generated 6 figures last year. Collectors from Tokyo to London ordering limited editions I produced between major pieces, but Melissa had already decided my narrative, hobbyist playing at business, crafter pretending to be an artist. Actually, she continued, settling into my only chair like a queen granting an audience, I came by to tell you about my triumph. The Westfield Gallery wants to feature my work next month. A solo show, can you imagine? I could imagine. The Westfield was known for vanity exhibitions, artists who paid for wall space and opening night champagne, but pointing that out would only sound like jealousy. That's wonderful, I said instead, returning to my canvas. It really is. Of course, they were impressed by my connections. You know how the art world works, it's not just about talent, it's about who you know. She examined her manicure. Speaking of which, I ran into Professor Martinez at the Guggenheim benefit last week. He asked about you. Professor Martinez, our painting instructor who'd told me I had raw talent that needed refinement. The same professor who'd told Melissa she had connections that needed leveraging. He said it was a shame you'd given up on serious art, she added with false sympathy, but I told him you were happy with your crafts. Some people are meant to be professionals, others are meant to be hobbyists. There's room for both in the world. The email from Laurent burned in my phone. I knew I should wait until she left to read it, but her condescension was suffocating. Excuse me for a moment, I said, stepping to the window for better light and privacy. The email was brief and devastating in the best way. Ms. Chen, or should I say Enigma? Your identity may be hidden, but your talent is unmistakable. The Meridian Gallery is prepared to offer you our featured artist exhibition for the fall season. Furthermore, we have a collector interested in acquiring your entire Urban Metamorphosis series sight unseen, based solely on the portfolio images. Please call at your earliest convenience. The Meridian Gallery, the same venue that had launched careers of artists now hanging in MoMA, the gallery Melissa had been trying to get into for 5 years. Bad news? Melissa asked, noticing my stillness. Did someone return a print? I told you the market's oversaturated with amateur work. Just business, I murmured, sliding the phone into my pocket. She stood, brushing imaginary dust from her designer dress. Well, I should go. I have a meeting with real collectors, you know, the kind who buy originals, not prints, but keep practicing. Maybe someday you'll be ready for a group show at a community center or something. After she left, trailing perfume and put-downs, I called Laurent. Enigma, his voice was warm, excited. I hope you're sitting down. The collector, they want to remain anonymous for now, but they've offered $2 million for the complete series. 2 million. And that's before the exhibition even opens. I was, in fact, sitting down, on the floor, my legs having given out. There's more, he continued. They want to commission a companion series. Budget is, well, let's say unlimited. They were particularly drawn to your technique, something about the layering being reminiscent of the old masters but with contemporary urgency. The technique Melissa had just called spilled paint. We discussed details, the exhibition timeline, the press strategy, the careful maintenance of my anonymity until the opening night reveal. Laurent understood my need for privacy, having worked with other artists who preferred their work to speak first. One thing, he added before hanging up, the collector specifically mentioned they've been following your online sales. They're impressed by your business acumen as well as your artistry. Not many artists understand both sides of the market. My little Etsy shop, apparently, had caught the attention of someone with very deep pockets. The next few weeks passed in a blur of studio time and secret meetings. I continued my routine, working my day job, painting at night, enduring Melissa's periodic visits where she'd update me on her paid exhibition while critiquing my amateur techniques. "You're still using those same colors," she observed one evening, wine glass in hand as she supervised my work. "Real artists evolve their palette, but I suppose when you're just crafting for fun, consistency is safe." I thought about the collector who'd specifically praised my unique color theory, the way I layered transparencies to create depth that seemed to shift with viewing angle. "And you're still not signing your work properly," she continued, "though I suppose that's for the best. Wouldn't want people to associate you with real artists. It might confuse the market." The invitation came the week before her Westfield opening. "The Meridian Gallery cordially invites you to Emergence," an anonymous master revealed. I left it on my kitchen counter when Melissa stopped by to borrow a dress for her opening. "What's this?" She picked up the heavy cardstock with its embossed lettering. "Oh my God, you got invited to the Meridian Gallery? How?" "Must be a mailing list thing," I said vaguely. "This is for the same night as my opening." She actually pouted. "Well, you'll come to mine, of course. The Meridian will be full of pretentious collectors who wouldn't know real art if it." She stopped, reading further. "Wait, an anonymous master? Someone's been selling work secretly?" "Apparently." She sniffed. "Probably some gimmick. Real artists don't hide. We put ourselves out there, build our brands, like I have with the Westfield." The night arrived with Manhattan gleaming under September stars. I dressed carefully in a simple black dress, the kind that could belong to a guest or an artist, depending on the moment. Melissa had texted 12 times about her opening, each message more frantic about attendance. I'd promised to try to stop by after the Meridian event. The gallery was already packed when I arrived through the service entrance. Laurent met me in the back office, practically vibrating with excitement. "The collector is here," he whispered. "They still wish to remain anonymous, but they're very eager to meet you. And the press, every major critic is out there, the Times, Art Forum, even international journalists." Through the office door, I could see my work displayed with museum-quality lighting. The canvases I'd painted while Melissa mocked my hobby were now center stage at one of the most prestigious galleries in the city. "Ready?" Laurent asked. I thought about all the nights I'd painted through her condescension, all the techniques I'd developed while she attended parties, all the sales I'd made while she dismissed my crafts. "Let's do this." The main gallery was a sea of black-clad figures, champagne flutes catching light like stars. I moved through them unrecognized, listening to critics dissect brush strokes Melissa had called accidents. "The layering is extraordinary," one said. "It takes years to develop this kind of technical mastery." "The color theory is revolutionary," another agreed. "I haven't seen anything like this since the Venetian masters." Then I spotted her. Melissa stood frozen in front of my largest piece, her phone held limply at her side. She was supposed to be at her own opening, but here she was, drawn by the same curiosity that made her an artist, even if she'd forgotten that in favor of networking. "Impressive, isn't it?" I said quietly, joining her. She startled. "Jade, what are you?" "Never mind, look at this. This is what real art looks like. The technique, the vision, the execution. This is why I keep telling you to aim higher with your little paintings." I studied my own work through her eyes, seeing what she couldn't, the same technique she'd mocked, elevated and refined. "Though," she continued, unable to help herself, "I think the artist is overthinking the complexity. Sometimes simple is better, like my work at the Westfield. You should really come see." "Ladies and gentlemen," Laurent's voice commanded attention, "the moment we've all been waiting for. Please welcome the artist behind these masterworks." Exhibiting publicly for the first time, Jade Chin. The spotlight found me before Melissa could process the words. I watched her face cycle through confusion, disbelief, and finally, horror as the crowd erupted in applause. But she stammered as photographers surrounded us. You can't be, this is your hobby, your crafts. Tonight's entire exhibition, Lauren announced over the noise, has been acquired by a single collector for a record-breaking sum. Every piece will remain together as a complete collection, a testament to the artist's extraordinary vision. Melissa's wine glass tilted, missed her lips entirely, and splashed Merlot down her designer dress. She didn't seem to notice. Furthermore, Lauren continued, we're thrilled to announce a commissioned series with an unlimited budget, ensuring Ms. Chen can continue developing her groundbreaking techniques. Critics approached with recorders, collectors with business cards, museum curators with exhibition offers, but I watched Melissa shrink into herself, her phone, usually documenting every moment, forgotten in her hand. You let me, she whispered when we had a moment alone. All those things I said. You said what you believed, I replied simply. You saw what you expected to see, a hobbyist playing with crafts. It was easier than looking closer. But your techniques, I called them accidents, spilled paint, beginner mistakes. I know. The painting by numbers comment. I remember. She stared at the red stain spreading across her dress like a wound. My opening at the Westfield. No one's there, are they? They're all here. For you. I thought about comforting her, about maintaining our friendship with pleasant lies, but I was tired of making myself smaller to accommodate her assumptions. Probably, I agreed, but then, the Westfield was always about who could pay for wall space, not who could paint. We both knew that. You just pretended otherwise. I'm a real artist too, she said weakly. Are you? I asked gently. When was the last time you painted something that wasn't calculated for maximum social media impact? When did you last take a risk with technique, push boundaries, create something that scared you? She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. No sound came out. A collector approached, asking about my process. As I explained the layering technique Melissa had witnessed a dozen times without recognizing, I saw her slip away through the crowd, her wine-stained dress a flag of surrender. She texted me later that night, congratulations, I always knew you had potential. I didn't respond. We both knew that was a lie. She'd never seen potential, only a mirror that made her feel taller. The review in the Times the next morning called my work a revelation that challenges us to question how many hidden masters walk among us, dismissed by those too blind to see beyond their own assumptions. They ran a photo of me standing beside the piece Melissa had called Spilled Paint, now owned by someone who'd paid more than most people's houses for the privilege. But the real victory wasn't in the sales or reviews, it was in the studio the next morning, facing a fresh canvas without anyone's voice in my head telling me I was just a hobbyist with delusions. Sometimes the best art comes from silence, not the absence of sound, but the presence of purpose, and sometimes, the sweetest vindication is painted in layers, each one covering the doubts others tried to instill, until all that remains is what was always there. Mastery, waiting for the right light to reveal it.